My wife Diana is a long-legged, green-eyed blonde. I'm more modest-looking, a tall, blue-eyed brunette with a shrapnel scar on my left cheek and graying temples, a souvenir from military service. We're both 34, and we've been together for 11 years. We have 2 sons, Paul and Kevin, aged 10 and 8. I work as an expert in a jewelry salon, appraising and authenticating antique jewelry. My wife works in a beauty salon. Manicures, pedicures, haircuts. She loves her job, even though she has a college degree. She graduated from Technical University with a degree in refrigeration systems and equipment. Graduated, yes, but never worked a day in that field. Right after university, she took cosmetology courses, and a friend got her the salon job. Tons of female and male clients, useful connections. Well, you know what I mean? Once a year, we took the kids to the seaside. I hate the overcrowded, tanned, male-filled resorts of Turkey and Egypt. So, we went to the Baltic resorts in the Black Sea. In terms of intimacy, everything was fine, too. I thought my woman was satisfied with that sweet aspect of married life. Always and everywhere. That's my motto in that area. At least, I never got any complaints from my wife about it. I was always open to any experiments or suggestions from her. All that was true until recently. But then, 6 months ago, her mother got sick. Diana threw all her energy into helping her. Frequent nighttime vigils at her suffering mother-in-law's bedside took a toll on our relationship. No, outwardly, everything seemed the same. That soft, affectionately weary sadness from my wife when she'd refuse intimacy. You understand, I'm so exhausted from work, and Mom, wait, darling, not now. And a soft, tender touch on my cheek. That not now became the motto of our family life. Everything was not now, from sex to vacations. And Mom kept being sick. Diana visited her more and more often. At some point, she started spending more time with her mother than with her husband and her own children. A daughter's love. But it's my mom. I'm not a jealous person by nature, and Diana never gave me reason to be jealous. Even though we live in a big city, you can't hide a needle in a haystack. Sooner or later, everything comes out. But as they say, Caesar's wife must be above suspicion. If something was going on, I would have known. What a smug idiot I was. Now I understand that infidelity is embedded in the very nature of women, that the lives of most of them are ruled by emotions and passions. Throwing themselves into that whirlpool of love, they forget everything about their husband, their children, their conscience. Finally, everything's an illusion. There's only me. That fateful day started badly. Arriving at work, I remembered I hadn't turned off the light in the bathroom. Not a huge problem, but I decided to call my wife at home and ask her to check. But neither the home phone nor her cell phone answered. I was about to head back home when I got connected with a client. Jacob Miller, my dear fellow. Nathaniel Montgomery here bothering you. Could you possibly come to see me and look at a little piece? I've been offered an antique platinum ring from the mid-19th century, but I have doubts about its authenticity. I'll pay handsomely for your consultation. The man speaking had a magically smooth baritone voice, the kind our female counterparts melt for. Montgomery, a familiar name. And then I remembered, a wealthy patron, summers at home, winters in Spain, owner of several newspapers and shares in the oil business, decided to invest money in antiques, I guess. Well, if you have the money, then we'll come to you. All right, I can come by around 4 o'clock. Send me your address. Excellent. Then I'll invite the seller for that time, too. Until then. Montgomery hung up. I dialed my wife's number again. Useless. Then I called the salon. A pleasant girl informed me in a sweet voice that Diana Miller wouldn't be at work today. She had taken 3 days off unpaid. 2. Montgomery's residence was in an elite cottage community 30 kilometers from the city. His mansion reeked of big money from a mile away. Walking along the tiled path, I pushed open the heavy front door. The host, a pampered playboy around 45, in a bathrobe thrown over his bare body, through the open lapels you could see the graying curly hair on his chest, met me on the threshold. His whole demeanor suggested he was doing me a great favor by sharing the same air. "Please, Jacob Miller." He stretched a cordial smile across his face. "Let's go to the second floor, to my study." We went up the marble staircase and entered a hall with several doors. Behind one was the study, behind the others, presumably, were bedrooms. We hadn't even exchanged a couple of pleasantries when the host's mobile phone chirped. "Alexander Kensington, yes, I'm home. I'll meet you now." "Do make yourself comfortable for a moment, Jacob Miller," he addressed me. "I'll go down and meet the cellar. Please, cognac, whiskey. Help yourself." Leaving the door open, Montgomery started down the stairs. I dialed my wife again. Where had she disappeared to? I was starting to get nervous. Again, the long dial tone, and then suddenly somewhere, the painfully familiar ringtone started playing muffledly. At first I didn't realize it was my wife's phone ringing. I stepped out into the hall. The sound was coming from the nearest room. I cautiously pushed the door open. In the middle stood an unmade large bed under a blue silk canopy. The ringing phone with its glowing screen lay to the side on the bedside rug. It must have fallen accidentally. For several seconds I stood there, stunned, not knowing what to think or do. My heart pounded in my throat, periodically dropping into my stomach. I bent down and picked up the phone. On the lit screen, I saw my own face and the caption, "My love." No doubt, this was Diana's phone. I hung up and put the phone in my pocket. I raised my eyes and looked at the bed. Thin pink bra straps were sticking out from under a pillow. I carefully pulled on one, and the lacy, frilly bra, the very one from the set we bought together a month ago, came out in my hand. I stuffed it into my jacket's inner pocket and quickly returned to the study. A few minutes later, the host came in, accompanied by a thin, dreary-looking guy. "Gentlemen, meet each other," he introduced us. The guest, without delay, pulled out an antique Saffian leather case and handed it to me. I was terrified my hands might start shaking. Summoning all my strength to control myself, I carefully opened the lid and saw a magnificent antique ruby ring. For several minutes I examined it closely with a loupe, then held it up to the lamp, checked the hallmarks inside the band and the play of light in the blood-red stone. There was no doubt. This was a genuine antique ring, circa mid-19th century, by an unknown Russian jeweler. "I want to give it to my beloved woman," the host declared smugly. I silently wrote the appraisal, handed it to Montgomery, received my fee, and quickly retreated. It was unbearable to stay in that house. Interesting, does Montgomery know I'm his mistress's husband? That my Diana was his mistress I no longer doubted. God, what an effort it took to keep up that facade of calm. How I wanted to smash that pampered face. Thank God my army skills hadn't faded yet. I sat in the car for a long time, unable to move. So this was whose bed, or rather, in whose bed, Diana had been spending her evenings and nights for the past 6 months, and her mother had diligently covered up her daughter's escapades. For a moment, despair washed over me. Why did she do this to me? What for? If I could have, I would have howled. I needed to try and pull myself together. Where to go? Fine, I'll go home to close this chapter. I turned on the left turn signal and pulled away. After a while, I got onto the highway and drove towards the insistent, flashing advertisement lights of the big city. 3. I have no luck with women. Sooner or later, they leave me. As a child, my mother abandoned me, running off to her lover. Apparently, there was no place for me in her happy future. And now, my wife. After 11 years of marriage, she apparently decided to drastically change her life. Start with a clean slate, so to speak. What is it about me that women don't stay around for long? My father never remarried after my mother left. He loved me and was terribly afraid a stepmother couldn't replace my mother. Another woman's children are unwanted. And anyway, a woman doesn't owe anyone anything. It's the man who must raise and support another man's children, a rule for cuckolds and henpecked husbands. It's not the father who conceives, but the one who raises. That doesn't apply to women. So we lived, 2 men, abandoned once by the women we loved. Then Dad died, and I moved in with my grandparents, an orphan with a living mother. Women often accuse men of excessive cruelty. Nonsense. On the path to personal happiness, a woman will stop at nothing. She will sweep aside everything in her path, everything, including her own children. In cruelty and cunning, women far surpass men. Diana, what did she lack? Love, tenderness, money, adrenaline. In all 11 years, I never once looked at another woman. Maybe that was a mistake. She took my love as weakness, convinced herself I'd never leave her. Maybe Diana never loved me? Doesn't seem like it. All these years we lived soul to soul. I would have sensed the falseness. I would have felt it in my heart. Until today, I hadn't noticed any signs of my wife's infidelity. Everything was smooth, as always. That very fact tore my heart apart the most. Stupid fool. Diana had been cheating for nearly half a year, throwing herself passionately into someone else's bed, pretending everything was fine between us. The morning talks, caring for the kids, for me, and all of it, in the end, a lie. I remembered the words of an emancipated female acquaintance. A husband is a potential enemy. Do they really think that way and behave accordingly, like in bed with the enemy? The outcome was clear to me. I caught myself feeling uncomfortable even talking to Diana. I even felt a sense of disgust. A cheating woman is like an ashtray. It might be washed clean, but just thinking about who stubbed their cigarettes out in it. And one more thing. Given what had happened, I was somehow too calm. Maybe later it would finally hit me, the full horror of it all. But for now it was like a stupor. As if this wasn't happening to me, but I was just observing everything from the sidelines. When I got home, Diana wasn't back yet. I went to the kitchen, took a half-empty bottle of cognac from the cupboard, and put it on the table. But I wasn't in a hurry to drink. I decided to talk to my wife with a clear head. Diana showed up after midnight. Jake's sorry. Vicky, as always, has problems with her husband, had to go comfort her. I wanted to call, but I lost my phone somewhere. Probably left it at Mom's. Diana rattled on in her usual mode, taking off her coat and boots in the hallway. "Hi." She pecked me on the cheek. "Oh, cognac. Pour me some? I'm so wiped out today. Unbelievable." No wonder. Not every guy could handle that kind of load. Such pressure. Work, kids, husband, lover. I silently looked at Diana. I was curious how she would try to wriggle out of this situation. Would she confess to the affair or play the fool to the end? "I'm taking a shower." My wife almost ran to the bathroom. It was clear she hadn't been at any Vicky's today. Strange. Doesn't her lover have a bathroom forcing Diana to come home unwashed? Some kind of fetish? Or better to wash away sins at home? Diana was saying something, but the noise of the water drowned out her words. Anyway, I didn't care what she was saying. What mattered was what I would say. My wife came into the kitchen in a robe over her naked body and a towel on her head. Smiling seductively, she splashed some cognac into a glass. For a moment it even seemed like nothing had happened, just another ordinary evening out of thousands like it. But only for a moment. "Diana, sit down. We need to talk." I was trying my hardest to keep it together. Have you noticed that conversations about infidelity always start the same way? "We need to talk." Doesn't matter if it's the husband or wife initiating. What matters is it's time for explanations. Diana looked at me surprised, but left the frying pan alone. "Maybe postpone it till tomorrow?" she said somewhat uncertainly, her gaze shifting. I understood she guessed the topic and was trying to buy time, but I was adamant. "Diana, is there someone else?" "What do you mean?" My wife put on a surprised face. "Exactly. Playing the fool." "I mean a lover? Do you have a lover? How long have you been cheating on me?" I was straining to speak calmly. "A year, 6 months, a month." "Jake, what nonsense! What lover? Who's cheating? Good Lord, what are you saying?" My wife's indignation seemed boundless. The very picture of offended innocence. Bravo, she takes a punch well. Not a muscle twitched on her face. "Diana, stop the act. I know everything. How long, with whom, and even where. By the way, did you find your phone? Maybe we should call Mom." My wife was silent, gathering her thoughts. "It's very bad to be so absent-minded. You should check if you forgot anything." I placed her phone on the kitchen table. I saw Diana's pupils dilate. She covered her mouth with her palm. "Where did you get that?" she whispered barely audibly. "I found it in Nathaniel Montgomery's bedroom. Interesting. What do you call him? Bunny? Pookie? Nate? Or maybe Natty?" I was openly mocking her now. "Jake, you misunderstood. Yes, I was at his house, but it was for work. I was doing his manicure." Diana was ready to burst into tears. She didn't even ask which Nathaniel. Meaning she knew perfectly well who I meant. "In his bedroom? In his bed? I'll allow that. Did you give him a boob massage, too?" "What boobs? What are you talking about?" Diana was screaming now. She'd recovered from the shock. I silently placed the bra on the table. "That very one, pink and frilly?" Diana fell silent, frantically thinking up an excuse. I was hot. I changed into a robe and took my bra off. You know how breasts sweat, especially in a bra. You men don't understand that." So there was a striptease too? I was laughing openly now, though it was far from funny. Diana flinched as if struck, apparently realizing the excuse hadn't worked. Jake, I love only you. I don't need anyone else. I don't know what you've imagined, but I'm telling the truth. We have 2 children. What lover, what affair. Diana fell to her knees before me. Darling, my love, I've done nothing wrong to you. I have only one man, and that's you. Believe me. Diana was now sobbing uncontrollably, not holding back her emotions. She grabbed my hand and started kissing it. Tears streamed down her cheeks, and there was so much love and tenderness in her voice that not forgiving her seemed simply impossible. What can you say? Tears are heavy artillery. We men are emotionally weaker than women. I wanted to hug Diana, kiss her beloved eyes, stroke her hair, comfort her. Really, what affair? She was just at work. So what if she dropped her phone? It happens to anyone. Not to mention the bra? What nonsense. She's so sincere with me. Yes, I would have forgiven her if it weren't for that painfully familiar antique platinum ring with a blood-red ruby instead of a wedding band on the ring finger of her right hand. 4. I sat and listened to Diana's heart-wrenching sobs, noting to myself that their tone had changed slightly. The hysterical notes disappeared from her voice. It even seemed to me my wife was calming down. Interesting? Why? Did Diana interpret my silence as readiness for reconciliation, or did she feel she'd convinced me of her fidelity? It's long been known that women see a man as a special species of biped they study intently, trying to tame and teach to eat from their hand. The main thing is he doesn't bite their fingers along with the sugar lump. Well, that's me being ironic now, but back then I sat there stunned. The full meaning of what had happened was only just starting to sink in. Diana finally fell silent and looked at me through tears, probably expecting me to throw myself into her arms. Indeed, what else to expect from a fool whose wife has been cheating for half a year, while he remained clueless? Diana tried to hug me, but I pushed her away. Where did you get this ring? I grabbed her right hand. Ring? She looked at me bewildered, her gaze betraying her. Yeah, this one with the ruby. This friend offered to sell it, so I took it to try on and wear, to see if it suited me or... Diana, already sensing this was the end, still desperately grasped at words, but it was futile. All right, enough. I think it's best for you to leave now, especially since you have somewhere to go. I'll file for divorce myself. We'll decide about the kids tomorrow. I stood up. It was time to end this show. Say hi to Natty for me. My wife instantly deflated. Still sobbing, she went to get dressed. Several times she tried to speak to me, but I remained silent. At the door, she turned to me, trying to say something, but I silently closed the door behind her. When you love someone, no one else is needed. At all. No one. And if there is someone else besides the person you love, then it's over. We are finished.